Hi everybody, my name's Nate Westgore. I own Willie's American Guitars and today is our 33-year anniversary. You know, I grew up as a kid in Chicago and a musician in Chicago. I lost my parents in high school and from there I was obsessed with guitars. I went to college for a while, but in 1980 in Illinois, the liquor laws changed in Illinois and Wisconsin became overrun with small clubs. I made my living all through my 20s playing in and out of Chicago, and I always wanted to have a guitar store that served the musical community and that played. So in 1989, I moved into this section right here, and some of you might remember that store. What that store had was 13 guitars and 12 amplifiers. Hello there. When I was a kid, I used to go to Chicago Music, or Wooden Music in Chicago on Lincoln Avenue, and I would drive great lengths to go just peek in their window. Now with Willie's, I have people coming and looking in the window even as late as midnight just to see some cool guitars. We get that. And this store had mostly tweed amplifiers and old guitars. And we were busy right away. People coming right away. I'm sorry, sir. We've moved down the street, but I'll take that. Back then, as Eli just demonstrated, guys would bring in old Fenders and they weren't really a lot of money. They've risen in value. Old tweed amplifiers have gone up tremendously. Every year I've had old tweed amplifiers, people are like, they're worth that much? I'd never pay that. And they continue to rise in value. Old guitars, old wood, old magnetics continue to be hot to this day. They're especially hot. Then, 3 years later, I moved down to this location right here. Nick, would you mind taking that for me? Thank you. This location was now double my size. This location was 1,100 square feet. And in this location, a lot of stuff started cooking. For Willie's American Guitars, we really started getting off the ground. I met a lot of artists in here. Springsteen, Sheryl Crow on her first tour came in here. She didn't even have a hit yet. And I remember discussing strings with Sheryl Crow, and she was playing at First Avenue. Another thing that happened was this. I found Jimmy Page's guitar. Actually, it found me. In the early 90s, Jimmy Page's lost guitar that was lost since 1970, that looked exactly like this guitar, a 3-pickup 1960 Les Paul Custom with a Bigsby. A fella came in the back door of this store and said, I found Jimmy Page's guitar. I did not believe it, not for a second. How do you know? And he said, well, it says Jimmy Page underneath one of the pickups. It says JP. So I know that for a fact. Okay. Well, we called Jimmy Page's people. We read them the serial number, and they sent somebody over to look at it and said, nope, not ours. You sure? It's got the serial number. Nope, not ours. So I sold this to one of our employees, who then kept it for 23 years. Twice as long as Jimmy Page did. And in 2015, we returned it to him. Thank you. So, Willie's Guitars has then, at this point, I had a new landlord, and there was a Kowalski's next door. They were going to throw me out. But instead, they decided to move on, and we are going now to the next section of our store and the next page in my little story. Over the years, I've employed probably 30 people in the past 33 years. No, we didn't go through one every year. We actually had at least 4 or 5 people working here at all times. Come with me this way. Then in 1999, I moved into this store that expanded us by about 3 times. This is the store perhaps most of you are familiar with. This is the store that brings people in from all over the world. I've had a lot of bands here, and if you'll allow me to talk a little about that. Back on the Guitar World magazine a couple of years ago had voted us the 6th best guitar store in America. And Eric who wrote the article, called me one time and he said, I was with Bruce Springsteen's band. He's a television producer, and he said, I was sitting around with Bruce Springsteen's band, and in talking to them, I told them I'm doing this article about all these stores around, and the Springsteen band said, you've got Willie's in there, don't you? Which I always thought is a cool part of the story. In here, I've had Springsteen, Billy Gibbons, Keith Richards. Keith Urban came in here before he was ever a star, before his first hit record. Neil Young, Stephen Stills, Graham Nash, Pete Townsend. After the Who shows, they would come in here and play. It would be 2 in the morning. Jackson Browne, Green Day, Black Keys, Fish, Joe Walsh, Kurt Hammett, Nils Lofgren, Bonnie Raitt, Prince, AC/DC, Zach Brown, Brad Paisley, Dierks Bentley, Vince Gill, Gary Allen, locals Phil Solem, my buddy Hutch Hutchinson, and the 2 biggest bands for me are Cheap Trick and Los Lobos. For me, they're my favorite bands, and if they were the only guys that ever visited Willie's, I'd be happy just to say that. I'm happy to say they're friends of mine after all these years, and I'm happy to have done this for 33 years. But I've got some news, and let me share that with you now. So this is why I brought you here today. I've got news, and I love this place. When we had Snuffy's next door, do you remember that? It's gotten a little noisier than then here inside, and I apologize to a lot of you in the acoustic room here, but we are moving. This is great news for us. We are moving, and it's only 3 miles away. That way. Yeah. So come visit us. We are going to open the new store in March of next year. So March 2022. How do you like that, huh? Good news. So come inside. I'm going to show you a couple other things, but just to let you know, this is our big announcements today. On the 9th of September, Willie's American Guitars, after 33 years, is moving up the street. Come here. We'll look at some stuff in here. For 33 years, we've been here, and for 33 years, people have been coming into this acoustic guitar room. My old friend Russ Eck, 85 years old, used to come in here and play guitar and sing songs with people. And I remember when Lyle Lovett was in here, and my buddy Russ Eck would say, here, play a song with me. And he'd play songs from the 30s, and him and Lyle Lovett would go back and forth. And later on, Russ came out to me at the counter and said, hey, you know, that guy in there is pretty good. And Lyle Lovett had a blast just sitting in here playing. This has been a central location for a lot of musicians, and I really appreciate that. This is not about me. This has been about the guitars, the wood, the community. This has been by the fact that old guitars have a certain soul, and they get played, and then people just pour their soul into it. This is about the fact that old trees are gone. You don't replant a 400-year-old, 500-year-old, 1,500-year-old tree. It's all an era that is an era gone by. The Beatles, the Stones, the Who, Led Zeppelin, they're all the Bach and Beethoven, the building blocks of what will go on for generations and generations. There's a music school next door now, and they're teaching kids that are just this high those classic songs. That's what you hear the most of these days. The music lives on, and we're proud to have been here for a lot of that. I come from Chicago, where I did a lot of repairs. I played at night, and during the day I would work in music stores, and I did a lot of repairs for Springsteen and Billy Joel, Frank Zappa. The list goes on and on and on. I could tell tons of stories, and maybe if I get some time I'll write a book, but this, number 4, is Billy Joel's stage guitar, and this is something, there's photographs of him playing this guitar. I'm going to donate this eventually for charity, but this is just an example of the type of thing. I know, Billy Joel, the piano man. This is one of my favorite guitars that I got in that early first store that Elia handed to me. This is a 1953 Blackguard Telecaster. This is one I will never be able to sell. Perhaps my 2 boys, Brett and Nick, will be able to sell this when they want to, long after I'm gone. But this is a gorgeous guitar, and all the old amps, the clean stuff, the rough stuff, the 1935 Martin, the first year for a cutaway Gibson L5, the simple beauty of a single pickup Gibson. You guys, I know I love single pickup guitars for the artistic beauty. These things are sculpture. You come into a store like this and you can smell the history. You can smell the old wood. We joke all the time about the grandma's closet spray, if we could only bottle that. It is addictive. And it's also, what's addictive for us is quality. We've never done cheap guitars. I've never sold Chinese guitars. Now and then to a neighborhood kid maybe. But our dedication is to the art of building the guitar, the art and history of the guitar, and the future generations of musicians, as well as all the classic musicians. I can't tell you how much fun it's been to work over the years with all these big artists. I can't tell you how fun it is to stand in line trying to get Bruce Springsteen's autograph with 20 people and only I get into his dressing room to get an autograph for Soul Asylum. Because their bass player had cancer and we were raising money. I have so many stories to share and so many stories that you have to share with me. It's not just about all the rock stars that come in here, but it certainly has been fun, and it's brought some focus on the city of St. Paul. We are staying in the city of St. Paul. We are moving to another location that is mine and a building that I own. And we hope Willie's will be around for a while. Perhaps somebody in the near future would want to buy Willie's and continue it on. I, for one, will continue this for a while longer and then just enjoy spending time with my beautiful wife, Shelley. So that's all I have for you now. The big news is we're moving. And right now it's September. It's going to take us a while to get all this done. You can't imagine how much stuff you accumulate over 33 years. But we are moving over to this new location, which is in a beautiful neighborhood in St. Paul that is over by where my father graduated Luther Seminary. On that, I'm going to let you all go. Look at that. A stop-tail 345 in natural. So they made about 20 of these. This is the kind of stuff I live for. We're always buying old guitars, Fenders, Gibsons, Martins, Archtops, any old guitar. I'm happy to talk about it. I'm happy to look at it. We buy, sell, trade, and admire. We can also fix anything, and that will continue on in our new location. We hope this receives you well. We thank you from the bottom of our hearts, all of us. We thank you, and every single last one of you that has visited us, and those dearly departed. So that's all from me, Willie from Willie's American Guitars, and that's my news. Happy anniversary to us, huh? How about that?